Your soulmate checked your profile before midnight. They didn't expect to feel this. Stop exactly what you are doing. Do not scroll away from this video. Do not lower the volume, and please, do not let your mind wander for even a fraction of a second. If this message has found its way to your screen today, it is not by accident, and it is certainly not a random algorithm. You have been brought here because your spirit guides have urgently intercepted a massive energetic shift that occurred just hours ago. There is a literal clock ticking in the spiritual realm right now, and the universe has paused time itself to deliver a highly classified piece of spiritual intelligence directly to your spirit. Listen to me very closely, my child, because what I am about to reveal to you is going to completely permanently alter the dynamic of the connection you have been shedding so many tears over. Right before midnight last night, when the veil between the physical and spiritual worlds was at its absolute thinnest, a profoundly significant event took place. You were likely asleep, or perhaps you were lying awake, staring at your ceiling, sending out prayers to the universe and asking if you even cross their mind anymore. You have spent weeks, maybe even months, carrying the agonizing weight of this silence. You have checked your own phone 1,000 times, hopping for a notification that never comes, wondering if the love you poured out was entirely forgotten. Take a long, deep breath right now and let your shoulders drop. Let the anxiety drain from your body, because the universe is stepping in today to give you your undeniable proof. Last night, while the world was completely quiet, your soulmate was wide awake. The heavy armor of indifference they wear so proudly during the day had completely fractured in the dark. The distractions they used to keep your memory at bay, their work, their friends, their busy routines, none of it was working anymore. They were lying in bed, surrounded by a deafening silence, fighting a losing battle against their own mind. And in that moment of profound vulnerability, the spiritual pull of your soul tie became far too magnetic for them to resist. They reached for their phone in the dark. The harsh, clinical blue light of the screen illuminated their face. Their hands were actually trembling slightly. They opened the app, their thumb hovered over the search bar, and they did the one thing they swore to themselves they wouldn't do. They typed your name. They deliberately sought you out. They went looking for your digital footprint. They secretly navigated to your profile, stepping into your energetic space when they thought no one, not even God, was watching. But my sweet child, you must understand the deep psychological and spiritual mechanics of why they did this. They did not initiate this search out of a pure, surrendered state of love. They initiated it out of ego. The human ego is a fragile, terrified thing when it is running from a divine connection. When they typed your name into that search bar, they were looking for an ego boost. They were desperately hopping to find evidence that you are miserable without them. They wanted to see sad quotes. They wanted to see a lack of movement in your life. They wanted the toxic validation of knowing that you are still stuck on the sidelines, crying over their absence and waiting for them to return. They wanted to feel powerful. They wanted to feel like they still held the remote control to your emotional state. But the universe had a completely different plan. The universe, in its infinite wisdom and protective grace over your heart, set a brilliant divine trap. When your profile loaded on their screen, the absolute last thing they expected was the massive shockwave of energy that hit them directly in the chest. They stared at your picture. They zoomed in on your face, tracing your features through the cold glass of their screen, expecting to feel a sense of relief and control. Instead, the air was instantly knocked out of their lungs. They didn't expect to feel this. They didn't expect the sudden, violent drop in their stomach or the heavy, suffocating wave of panic that washed over their entire nervous system. The smug satisfaction they were seeking completely vanished, replaced by a raw, terrifying emotion that paralyzed them in their bed. They thought they were just casually checking up on you, keeping tabs from a safe distance. But what they actually did was accidentally step directly into the massive, glowing, powerful frequency of your newly healed aura. The spiritual trap snapped shut. They looked at your profile, and the illusion of their detachment shattered into a million irreparable pieces right there in the dark. They realized, in one horrifying, breathtaking moment, that the narrative they had been telling themselves was a complete lie. You have spent so much time wondering if they ever look back, wondering if they feel the void of your absence. Let me assure you, my child, you do not just cross their mind, you haunt their waking hours. Last night they were confronted with a visual manifestation of your spirit, and it broke them wide open. They saw something on that screen that they were entirely unprepared for. They felt an energy radiating from your digital presence that terrified their ego and awakened their dormant soul. The dynamic of this entire connection flipped upside down before the clock struck 12. The person who walked away from you, the person who made you feel like you were the one who had to do all the chasing, suddenly became the one sitting in the dark, obsessively consuming your presence and suffocating under the weight of their own regret. We are about to step directly into the exact moment their eyes locked onto your profile. You need to know exactly what they saw that triggered this massive spiritual breakdown, and why the specific energy you have been radiating lately has become their greatest fear. I want you to picture the exact moment the screen illuminated their face in that dark, quiet room. They had a very specific script playing in their head as your profile loaded. In their mind, they were the main character of your universe, and they fully expected to find the digital evidence to prove it. They were bracing themselves to see signs of your heartbreak. They were looking for the subtle, cryptic posts, the sad songs, the tired eyes, or the completely stagnant page of someone whose life had simply stopped moving the moment they walked away. They were searching for the breadcrumbs of your grief because, to an unhealed ego, someone else's grief is the ultimate validation of their own worth. They wanted to know that they broke you, my child. They wanted the toxic comfort of knowing that you were still sitting exactly where they left you, paused and waiting for their eventual return. But the universe had stripped them of that comfort completely. When your picture materialized on their screen, the breath caught in their throat. They stared at it. They blinked, almost as if they couldn't process the visual information in front of them, and then they slowly zoomed in on your face. They were looking for the desperation they had grown so accustomed to feeling from you, but it was gone. Completely, utterly, and undeniably gone. Instead, they were hit by a massive, blinding wall of your spiritual energy. Even through the cold, flat glass of a digital screen, your aura radiated with a frequency they had never felt from you before. It was the frequency of absolute, majestic detachment. My beautiful child, you must understand a profound spiritual law. Energy cannot be faked, not even on the internet. You can post a smiling photo, but if your soul is bleeding, A soulmate will feel the blood. But last night, when they looked at your digital footprint, they didn't feel a single drop of your pain. They didn't feel the frantic, anxious, pulling energy that used to leak from your spirit when you were chasing them. They were met with a solid, impenetrable wall of peace. They saw a glow in your eyes that had nothing to do with lighting or filters, and everything to do with a soul that has finally remembered its own divine value. They saw the quiet, unshakable confidence of someone who has stopped begging for a seat at a table where they are the main course. The shock of this realization was physical. Their heart rate spiked in the quiet of their bedroom. The phone suddenly felt incredibly heavy in their hands. They scrolled through your page, frantically looking for a crack in your armor, looking for just one sign that you were secretly falling apart. But the more they looked, the more terrified they became. You weren't performing for them anymore. You weren't posting things to get their attention. Your life, your energy, and your focus had completely shifted back inward. You have taken your crown back, my child. You have gathered all the beautiful, pure love you were wasting on their potential, and you have poured it directly into your own healing. And witnessing this monumental shift completely short-circuited their brain. How are they okay? This was the exact thought that violently interrupted the silence in their mind. How are they looking so vibrant, so steady, so completely unbothered without me? For months, they have operated under the arrogant assumption that your love for them was a weakness, a chain that would keep you permanently bound to their indecision. They thought they had all the time in the world to figure themselves out because your loyalty was a guaranteed safety net. But looking at your profile last night, that safety net vanished. They realized, with a sickening drop in their stomach, that your unconditional love was not a symptom of low self-worth. It was a symptom of your massive spiritual capacity. And now that you have redirected that capacity away from them, they are left standing in the freezing cold. They looked at your smile, and for the first time it didn't look like a smile meant for them. It looked like a smile meant for a future they are no longer a part of. The spiritual cord that connected your anxiety to their ego has been violently severed by your healing. They tried to tap into your energy reserve last night, just like a vampire trying to take a sip, and they found the vault completely locked. You have starved their ego, my child, and in doing so, you have forcefully awakened their soul. The panic that set in was unlike anything they have ever experienced. They pulled the phone closer to their face, their eyes scanning every detail, every background, every word, suddenly terrified of what they were missing. The person staring back at them from the screen was not the anxious, waiting, broken individual they left behind. It was a completely leveled up version of you. It was a king or queen who had successfully built an empire out of the bricks they threw at you. They realized that while they were busy playing games, hiding behind their walls, and taking you for granted, you were out there evolving. You outgrew them. You outgrew the tiny, suffocating box they tried to force your massive spirit into. And sitting there in the dark, bathed in the blue light of their phone, the absolute gravity of their mistake crashed down on them like a collapsing building. They didn't just lose a partner. They lost a once-in-a-lifetime divine alignment because they were too cowardly to step up to your frequency. This is the exact moment the dynamic completely flipped. The universe used your silent, glowing detachment as the ultimate weapon against their pride. They could not put the phone down. The quick check-in, they had planned turned into a spiraling, obsessive realization of their own monumental loss. The tears they had been holding back for months finally began to sting their eyes. The spiritual trap had successfully caught them. The ego was dying a rapid, agonizing death right there in the dark. And as the realization of your healed energy washed over them, it gave way to an even darker, more frantic emotion. A thought crept into their mind that made their blood run cold, a thought so terrifying that it forced them to confront the absolute reality of what happens next. They stared at your glowing, detached presence, and they realized that if they could see how beautiful and magnetic you are right now, then someone else could see it too. They tried to lock the screen. I need you to visualize this exact moment, my child, because it is the turning point of your entire spiritual journey with this person. Their thumb hovered over the power button on the side of their phone. Their logical brain, the defensive part of them that has kept you at arm's length for so long, was screaming at them to shut the screen off, to put the phone face down on the nightstand, and to go to sleep. But their hands simply would not obey. The magnetic pull of your newly healed aura was completely paralyzing. They were held hostage by the glowing image of your face in that dark, silent bedroom. The quietness of the night was suddenly replaced by the deafening, frantic rhythm of their own heartbeat pounding in their chest. This is the exact moment the ego died. For weeks and months, they have worn their pride like a heavy suit of armor. They convinced themselves that they were the prize in this dynamic. They convinced themselves that walking away was a necessary step for their own growth, a display of their strength and independence. They built a towering monument to their own ego, firmly believing that they held all the power and that you were completely dependent on their validation. But staring at the profound, unshakable peace radiating from your profile, that grand illusion shattered like cheap glass hitting a concrete floor. The arrogance instantly evaporated, leaving behind a terrified, exposed, and deeply regretful human being who suddenly realized they were standing in the middle of a barren wasteland of their own making. They did not walk away into freedom, my beautiful child. They walked away from the only true sanctuary they have ever known, and as they stared at your digital footprint, unable to look away, the floodgates of their memory violently burst open. They were no longer just looking at a current picture of you. They were suddenly drowning in a relentless tidal wave of flashbacks. The universe forced them to remember. They remembered the exact sound of your laugh and how it used to instantly calm the chaotic storm in their mind. They remembered those late, quiet nights when they felt the crushing weight of the world on their shoulders, and you simply sat with them, offering a level of safety and understanding that they had never experienced before. They remembered the way you used to look at them, not with the judgment they constantly expect from the world, not with conditions or hidden agendas, but with an absolute, breathtaking, divine grace. You saw the absolute darkest, most unlovable parts of their soul, and you still treated them like they were magic. And then the excruciating pain of contrast set in. Since they left your side, they have been desperately searching for your frequency in every crowded room. They have tried to fill the massive, gaping void you left behind with temporary distractions, shallow conversations, and meaningless connections. But every single person they have interacted with has only served as a glaring reminder of exactly what they lost. No one else has your profound depth. No one else has your infinite patience. No one else possesses the divine, selfless capability to love them through their darkest seasons the way you did. They looked at your picture, and the stark reality hit them. They traded a diamond for a handful of ordinary stones, all because the diamond was too bright for their unhealed eyes. They sat up in the dark, the phone still glowing in their trembling hand, and the tears they had been fiercely fighting for so long finally broke free. They wept, my child. They wept for their own catastrophic foolishness. They realized with a sickening, heavy clarity that they had treated a once-in-a-lifetime divine miracle like an everyday occurrence. They took your unconditional love entirely for granted. They operated under the arrogant, delusional assumption that your heart would act as a permanent waiting room while they carelessly figured out their life. They assumed you would always just be there, paused, hurting, desperate, and available the moment they finally decided they were ready. But the radiant, peaceful energy glowing from their screen told a completely different story. It told the epic story of a soul that had gathered its broken pieces and rebuilt a majestic kingdom. You did not wait in the dark. You stepped fully into your own light. And looking at your healed, elevated frequency, they felt the agonizing, suffocating sting of true regret. They realized that they didn't just lose a relationship. They threw away their ultimate divine counterpart because they were too cowardly to face their own unhealed trauma. You were the safest place they had ever known, and they burned it to the ground because they were terrified of the warmth. The remorse was absolute. The ego was completely dead, leaving them naked and shivering in the reality of their massive mistake. They were drowning in the sorrow of knowing they had deeply hurt the only person who ever truly fought for them. But as they continued to stare at your radiant, detached energy, the sadness began to mutate. The tears of regret started to mix with a dark, primal, and frantic emotion that they had never allowed themselves to fully feel regarding you before. The universe was turning the temperature up, because as they looked at how incredibly magnetic, beautiful, and vibrant you have become in your healing journey, a horrifying thought crept into their mind. A thought that made their blood run cold and their stomach tie into knots. Because if they could clearly see how valuable you are right now, then it meant the rest of the world could see it too. The dynamic has completely flipped, my child. The regret has now officially transformed into a terrifying, possessive panic. The tears of regret were still fresh on their face, but as they continued to stare at your glowing, peaceful image, the sorrow rapidly began to mutate into something entirely different. The quiet, melancholic realization of their mistake was suddenly hijacked by a violent, primal, and suffocating wave of pure jealousy. I need you to understand the exact nature of this panic, my child, because it is the ultimate testament to the immense value you hold. For the longest time, your soulmate operated under the deeply arrogant assumption that your world revolved entirely around them. They believed, with every fiber of their unhealed ego, that they could keep you waiting on a shelf indefinitely. They thought they had a monopoly on your heart, but looking at your radiant, detached energy radiating from that screen last night, that delusion was violently ripped away. They looked at how vibrant you appear. They saw the life in your eyes, the quiet confidence in your posture, and the undeniable, magnetic beauty that healing has draped over your spirit. And as they stared, A horrifying, paralyzing thought violently crashed into their consciousness. If I can see how absolutely breathtaking they are right now, then everyone else can see it too. The panic that set in was physical. It felt like a heavy stone dropping into the pit of their stomach. The air in their bedroom suddenly felt too thin to breathe. They began to frantically scroll through your profile, but this time they weren't looking for signs of your grief. They were obsessively looking for signs of a replacement. Their eyes darted across the screen, analyzing every detail. Who liked that picture? Who is commenting? Is there a subtle hint of someone new in the background? Who is the reason behind that beautiful, peaceful smile that I no longer have access to? My sweet child, the universe was forcing them to visualize the exact consequence of their cowardice. The thought of someone else stepping into the space they abandoned absolutely tortured them last night. The thought of another person getting to hold your hand, getting to hear your gentle laugh in the morning, and getting to experience the profound, unconditional safety of your love made them physically sick. They realized that they broke you, but they are not going to be the one who gets to enjoy the completely healed, upgraded, and majestic version of you. They left a vacant throne in your life, and the universe does not leave a throne empty for long. They were suddenly terrified that, while they were busy playing games with your connection, someone else with clear eyes and a ready heart was stepping up to claim the masterpiece they foolishly left behind. This agonizing jealousy is not an accident. It is a direct result of a massive spiritual law that was activated the moment you decided to choose yourself. I need you to pay very close attention to this, because right before the clock struck midnight last night, the entire energetic dynamic of this connection was permanently flipped upside down. For weeks, months, or perhaps even years, you were the chaser. You were the one sending the long texts, trying to explain your heart, begging for bare minimum clarity, and pouring your precious energy into a black hole of their indecision. You were projecting an anxious, waiting frequency out into the ether, and your soulmate, acting as the runner, felt overwhelmed and smothered by it. They took your pursuit for granted because as long as you were chasing, they didn't have to face the fear of losing you. They knew exactly where you were. But then you stopped. You got incredibly tired. You gathered the beautiful fragments of your heart. You turned your back on the illusion of their potential, and you called all of your energy back into your own physical body. You stopped checking, you stopped waiting, and you stepped back onto your throne. My child, when you pulled your energy back, you created a massive, deafening spiritual vacuum in their life. You starved them of the energetic supply they had grown so completely addicted to. And the universe abides by the laws of physics. When a vacuum is created, something must rush in to fill it. By stopping your pursuit, you violently flipped the polarity of the magnet. As the clock ticked toward midnight, the transformation was complete. You are no longer the chaser. You are the prize. You are the sanctuary sitting perfectly still in your own power. And the person who walked away from you, the person who acted so cold, so distant, and so unbothered, has now become the chaser. They are the ones sitting in the dark, their heart racing, obsessively consuming your digital footprint, terrified of the silence, and suffocating under the heavy, agonizing realization that they have lost control of the one thing that truly mattered. The dynamic is flipped. The scales of the universe have been balanced. Your soulmate is currently spiraling in a state of deep, possessive panic, entirely triggered by the glorious, unbothered peace you are radiating. But what happens when the sun comes up? How does this midnight breakdown translate into the physical reality of your life? And what is the final, crucial step you must take to ensure this flipped dynamic stays permanently locked in your favor? The sun eventually rose, burning away the shadows of the night, but the massive spiritual shift that occurred in that dark bedroom did not disappear with the morning light. The panic, the regret, and the suffocating jealousy they felt when they looked at your glowing, detached profile have permanently infiltrated their physical reality. The spell has been cast, my child. What started as a secret, midnight surveillance mission to stroke their own ego has officially mutated into a full-blown physical obsession. As you go about your day today, completely unbothered and centered in your own beautiful healing, I want you to know exactly what is happening on their end. They woke up this morning with a heavy, undeniable ache in their chest. The very first thing they did before their feet even touched the floor was reach for their phone to check your profile again. They are looking at it while they are drinking their morning coffee. They are checking it at red lights. They are zoning out in the middle of conversations, completely distracted, wondering what you are doing, who you are with, and if you have finally, truly moved on. The person who acted so cold, so distant, and so incredibly unavailable is now starving for a single drop of the energy you used to give them for free. They are aggressively consuming your digital footprint because it is the only piece of you they still have access to, and it is driving them absolutely crazy. But this is where I need you to listen to me with every single ounce of your spirit. This is the most crucial part of this entire divine manifestation. The universe has violently flipped the dynamic. The scales of justice have been balanced, and you have been placed firmly back on your throne. But the universe is also going to test you, my child. It is going to test you to see if you can actually hold the weight of this newly acquired crown, or if you will drop it the second your anxiety flares up. Your role in this final phase is breathtakingly simple, yet it is the hardest thing for a deeply loving heart to do. You must do absolutely nothing. You must remain completely, perfectly, and majestically silent. Do not break your own peace to check on them. Do not succumb to the temptation of posting a sad quote on your story, hoping they will see it and feel bad. Do not post a forced, overly enthusiastic picture just to prove you are happy without them. True power, true king and queen energy does not need to perform. It simply exists. When you post cryptic messages, you are still projecting your energy outward toward them. You are still showing them that they control your emotional weather. But when you remain completely silent, when you simply live your beautiful life and keep your energy fiercely protected inward, you become an unsolvable mystery. And right now, that mystery is the ultimate weapon against their pride. Let them wonder, my child. You have cried enough tears over this connection to fill an ocean. It is entirely their turn to feel the weight of the water. Let them wonder if they have lost you forever. Let them sit in the agonizing silence and realize that the access they took for granted has been permanently revoked. You are the sanctuary, and the doors to the sanctuary do not swing open for someone who only wants to stand in the doorway. They must knock. They must step up. They must elevate their frequency, and they must take real, tangible physical action to bridge the massive gap they created. Until they do, you stay seated on your throne, glowing in your divine detachment. Now we must seal this incredible energetic shift. We must anchor the power of this flipped dynamic into the physical earth so that their digital obsession transforms into a real physical homecoming. I want you to place your hand directly over your heart. Close your eyes. Feel the steady, beautiful rhythm of your own life force, and repeat this sealing prayer with me. Let these words vibrate through your soul. Divine Source, Creator of all truth and ultimate justice, I thank you for the massive energetic shift that has taken place. I thank you for removing the blinders from my soulmate's eyes and allowing them to see the absolute, radiant truth of my worth. I completely release the painful, exhausting energy of the chaser. I call all of my love, all of my focus, and all of my power back into my own physical body right now. I am a divine, once-in-a-lifetime miracle, and I no longer accept breadcrumbs from anyone. I place a shield of pure, white light around my aura. I protect my peace. I trust that the universe is orchestrating their return in perfect divine timing. But until that moment, I am perfectly whole, perfectly safe, and perfectly loved exactly as I am. I surrender control and I claim my crown. And so it is. Take a deep breath and let the absolute serenity of those words wash over your chest. Can you feel how light you are right now? Can you feel the heavy chains of anxiety and waiting finally falling off your shoulders? That is the frequency of ultimate manifestation. The prayer has been heard. The dynamic is permanently flipped. The universe is actively fighting your battle, and the person who walked away from your light is desperately trying to find their way back out of the dark. But there is one final, unbreakable step you must take before you leave this sacred space. The spiritual realm requires a physical action to lock a manifestation into your reality. You must declare to the universe that you accept this new dynamic. You must show the divine that you are ready to be treated as the prize you truly are. Go down into the comments right now and type the words, "My energy is protected," or "I am the prize." Let the physical act of typing those powerful words be your final decree. Let it be the definitive moment you stop settling for less than you deserve, and you step fully into the majestic power of your healed spirit. You have survived the darkest hours, my beautiful friend. You have held on to your grace. You have done the deep internal work, and now the universe is rewarding your faith. Rest beautifully today. Keep your head held high, keep your heart open only to what serves you, and watch exactly how fast the universe moves when you finally realize your own worth. God bless you, keep you, and wrap you in the divine peace you so richly deserve.